All right, today we're going to learn how to use the curves, and we're also going to bring back our clone tool. All right, so the first step is we need to duplicate this background layer, and we are going to call it curves. So double click on layer 1 and change the name to curves. What we want to do is an overall adjustment to this image. So we will come up here to image adjustments, curves. And if we go this way, it'll make it lighter. If we go down, it'll make it darker. And we'll just kind of move it around. And we don't want to make it too dark, but we do want to intensify the colors a little bit. So maybe right about there. That kind of made everything a little bit darker. So here's before, here's after. It made it a little bit darker, and it made the blues pop a little more, and the greens and the yellows. So we're going to duplicate that layer again. And this time we're going to call it lasso, feather, curves. And we're going to just adjust this part right here where the yellow hay is. So we're going to come over here to our lasso tool. Make sure we have intersect selected and feather 100%. Okay. So then I'm just going to draw just around this yellow hay area. Come on. There we go. And we see the marching ants. Perfect. Come up to image adjustments, curves, and we're just going to make that yellow hay just a tad bit more intense in color and a little bit darker. Okay. And then if we turn that off, we can see that that just went a little darker. And it looks a little nice. It looks better now. So everything kind of looks the same in regards to the value tones. Now we are going to duplicate that layer, and we're going to call it clone. And we're going clone. All right. So we're going to select our cloning tool, which is right over here. Remember, we used this on our project with the railroad tracks. And we've got our horizontal toolbar here. We're going to come over here and we're going to select a nice soft brush. Because if we go with a hard mechanical brush, it's going to make this really hard edge. And we don't want that. We want a soft mechanical brush. So it's going to be a very blended on the edges, kind of like what we did with the lasso feather and curves. And we're going to make sure that the blend mode is set to normal. Opacity should be set to about 50%. And we will be clicking on our current layer, which is the clone layer, and we'll be using our Alt tool to help us with our selections, okay? So, but what I want to do is I want to zoom in. So I want to open up this little navigator over here, okay? And I'm going to slide it. And you see how it kind of creates like this red box where we're going to use that to navigate down to the bottom here. And we're going to close that now because I want to remove these lines in the water that are branches. We're going to keep the ducks, and we're going to remove some of these white specks here. Okay. So again, we're going to make sure we have all our tools set for our cloning tool. It looks like it is. And we need to make a bigger brush. So I'm going to make my brush about 70 pixels. I think that'll be good to like remove this white spot and also these branches. Okay, so I need to do the crosshair. So I'm going to click on the Alt key, and it's going to make this kind of crosshair. I'm going to select this darker area above by clicking my mouse. And when I move it over, do you see how it kind of is starting to disappear a little bit because it's cloning that dark shadowy area in the water over the white. Okay, so that looks good. I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to hold down my Alt key, going to select the blue right next to the white, going to click with my mouse, or I'm going to use my keypad. So I'm going to just hold down the Alt and click on the keypad, lift up, going to no longer hold the Alt down, and I'm just gonna move it over, and I'm going to click in there right over that white and remove. But what's happening is it's cloning the water over those white specks, okay? Now I want to get rid of this here. So do you notice how I keep selecting my Alt key? Every couple of clicks, I go Alt, click, release the Alt, and then I click, and guess what's happening? It's removing those lines I don't want in the water. Okay, and I'm going to get rid of this white branch here. Now I want to zoom out, so I'm going to click on my navigator again, and I'm going to just zoom out and just check this to see how this looks. So far, it looks pretty darn good. So then I'm going to zoom back in again, move this down, close my navigator, and I'm going to continue doing what I'm going to continue removing those white branches that are in the water. And every time I hold my Alt down and I click with my mouse together, it is cloning that area that was the crosshairs, okay? So that's in the crosshairs right there, that little green section, and I'm going to move it over and clone out these white branches. That little white speck there, get rid of that. Get rid of this. Okay, just keep going with it. And get rid of that white there. And now I'm going to check it again with my navigator. Going to zoom out, see how that looks. Looks pretty natural, looks good. Zoom back in again. Kind of move it where I want. Close the navigator. Okay. And now I'm going to open the navigator and I'm going to zoom out, and I want to remove this yellow leaf over here. So I'm going to just move this over here, zoom in a bit, move this over, close the navigator, and I'm going to get rid of the yellow leaf here, here as well. That little white speck there, little white speck there. Open my navigator, move this over because I saw some like trash here that I want to remove in the ground, on the ground here, a little bit of trash. And just gonna kind of move it up, move it out again. I'm just gonna okay, close my navigator and just kind of look at it. Here's my ducks, and before and after, before and after. All right, so now we're going to save as a PSD. It's going to download as a PSD, and I'm also going to export as a JPEG and all of this, and we're going to make this at 100%, and we're going to click on save, and then we're going to upload that image to our Google Slides. It is time to insert that image into our texture slide, so I'm going to go insert image. I'm going to upload from my computer. Here is my texture 1 image that has been retouched. I'm going to click on open, and I'm going to move it down and resize it in this box. And I'm going to move those lines to the front. And I'm going to talk about the texture over here, and I'm going to talk about the texture here. So where these arrows are pointing, there's two different types of texture that I'm going to discuss. I'm going to discuss how texture is used in this photograph, and I'm going to give evidence for that. And now we are done.